Each year his parents went to Jerusalem for the feast of Passover, and when he was 12 years old, they went up according to festival custom, and after they had completed its days, as they were returning, the boy Jesus remained behind in Jerusalem, but his parents did not know it, thinking that he was in the caravan, and they journeyed for a day and looked for him among their relatives and acquaintances. But not finding him, they returned to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him, they were astounded at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said to him, "Son, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been looking for you with great anxiety." And he said to them, "Why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in my father's house?" But they did not understand what he said to them. He went down with them and came to Nazareth, and was obedient to them, and his mother kept all these things in her heart. And Jesus advanced in wisdom and age and favor before God and man. Good morning. Welcome to a short biblical reflection on the Gospel according to Luke chapter 2, verses 41 up to 52. Is that the story of the finding of Jesus in the temple, the Gospel reading for the Holy Family Sunday, year C. The important element to stress in our text is the age of Jesus, that he was 12 years old. We'll go to it later on in the biblical context. Then the reference that they found him after 3 days, it could be also connected with the resurrection of Jesus after 3 days. This text focuses on misunderstanding on the side of the parents of Jesus, Mary and Joseph, that they did not know that Jesus remained in Jerusalem. Then Jesus poses it also in the question, "Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" And then later on, in verse 50, they did not understand what he said to them. Why? The stress is on Jesus' wisdom and understanding. In verse 47, that all were astounded at his understanding and his answers. And there on also progression in the last verse, that Jesus advanced in wisdom and age and favor before God and men. And of course, the whole drama is the constant looking and finding Jesus. They did not find him in the caravan among their relatives and acquaintances, so they did not find him in those places, but they found him in Jerusalem, in the temple, in the midst of the teachers whom he was teaching and answering to their question. And the focus is stress on God the Father. I must be in my Father's house. And of course, also growing in favor, age, and wisdom before God. And of course, since we are reading this Gospel reading for the sake of the feast of the Holy Family of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, we point also the stress in the last sentence, that we have stressed the obedience of Jesus, but also the attitude of Mary, that he was obedient to them, and his mother kept all these things in her heart. Because in the question, "Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" Jesus makes it clear that first there must be the obedience to God the Father, and then to the physical parents, to other people. Why Jesus now shows the example that he becomes also obedient to them, but Mary, by keeping all these things in her heart, meditating on them, she also becomes as let's say, the person who learns, who becomes obedient to what Jesus said to them. Now let us see the biblical context. A biblical text that describes the proper attitude in order to gain wisdom and understanding is the text from the book of Proverbs, chapter 2, verses 1 up to 5. "My son, if you accept my words and store up my commands within you, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding, and if you call out for insight and cry it aloud for understanding, and if you look for it as for silver and search for it as for hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. Because the fear of the Lord, in other texts, is the beginning of wisdom. And concerning the obedience of Jesus, we have it described also in the letter to Hebrews, chapter 5, verses 8 and 9. Although he was a son and learned obedience through what he suffered, and having been made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation for all who obey him. Jesus was obedient, is an example for us, so if we are now obeying him, we will have also access to eternal salvation. And concerning now the age 12, because in Jewish tradition, there is a certain institution called Bar Mitzvah, meaning literally son of commandment. It applies to the age of years as a child, a boy 13 years old becomes responsible, accountable for observing the law. Some would like to trace it back to the scripture, but there is no clear evidence concerning it, only it goes back to Middle Ages. But that link is also very interesting because some scholars discuss that the age of 12 or between 12 and 13, probably also in biblical times, was already as a turning point of maturity, of being accountable to the law. So therefore this figure of Jesus shown in our text is also made as a point of reference. But also we could point out two interesting quotations from the Jewish historian Josephus in his Antiquities. He writes first about the king Ammon. When he was 12 years old, he gave demonstrations of his religious and righteous behavior, for he brought the people to a sober way of living and exhorted them to leave off the opinion they had of their idols, because there were no gods, but to worship their own God. And by repeating on the actions of his progenitors, he prudently corrected what they did wrong, like a very elderly man and like one abundantly able to understand what was fit to be done. And then later on also concerning Samuel. Now when Samuel was 12 years old, he began to prophesy, and once when he was asleep, God called him by his name. I would like to wish you a nice day, a nice reflection on this gospel reading. God bless you.